Law of Karma, The Price of Greed. In Houston, Texas, there was a man named Robert Miller, a wealthy and powerful real estate businessman. He owned numerous luxurious buildings and frequently appeared in business magazines. But few knew that Robert's wealth did not come from hard work or talent, but from sophisticated fraud schemes, seizing property from the weak. One day, Robert discovered a large piece of land on the outskirts of the city, owned by an old veteran named William Carter. William had lived there for over 40 years and had no intention of selling. But Robert saw a golden opportunity. He hired a lawyer to find a way to defeat William legally. "I need that land. Do whatever it takes to make him sell it to me," Robert ordered his lawyer. After months of legal battles, Robert finally forced William to sell his land for a meager price. The old man had no choice but to leave his home, carrying only a few old clothes and a small compensation. Under the cold rain, he took one last look at his house, tears streaming down his wrinkled face. Robert did not care. He was delighted to have acquired the land at a bargain. He immediately demolished the old house and built a luxurious apartment complex. His wealth continued to grow, but he had no idea that the wheel of karma was silently turning. One evening, while having dinner with his family in his lavish mansion, Robert received an urgent call from the hospital. His only son, David, had been in a severe car accident. When Robert arrived at the hospital, the doctor told him that David's condition was critical. The young man might never walk again. "Why, my son?" Robert murmured, feeling fear for the first time in his life. But the disaster did not stop there. Just weeks later, Robert's company was investigated by the authorities for tax fraud and property embezzlement. His bank accounts were frozen, and the company faced bankruptcy. Those who once praised him now turned their backs, and friends avoided him. Robert slowly realized that his wealth was disappearing rapidly. Less than a year later, Robert lost everything. His luxurious mansion was repossessed by the bank, and his wife left him, taking their son with her. No one wanted to help Robert because they knew how cruelly he had treated others. Wandering the streets in tattered clothes, Robert never imagined that he would become homeless, just like those he had once deceived. On a cold evening, while sitting on the sidewalk, he saw an elderly man approaching. It was William Carter. "Mr. Miller?" William was surprised. Robert lowered his head, his arrogance completely gone. "I've lost everything," he whispered. But what shocked Robert was that William did not bear any resentment. The old man gently sat down beside him and handed him a cup of hot coffee. "Karma is determined by the heavens. The important thing is whether you want to change or not." For the first time in his life, Robert felt remorse. He broke down in tears. From that day on, Robert was determined to rebuild his life. He applied for a job as a janitor at a homeless support center. With William's help, he learned to live humbly and help others. But life was not easy. At first, Robert had to sleep on makeshift beds at the center and work tirelessly to earn every penny. There were days when he wanted to give up, but the image of William, the man who forgave and helped him, always appeared in his mind. Years later, Robert became a completely different person. He founded a non-profit organization to help the homeless find jobs and shelter. The bitter lessons of his past had taught him the true value of kindness. One day, while distributing food to the poor, Robert unexpectedly saw David, his son. He had recovered from the accident and was now working for a charity. "Dad, I've heard about what you've been doing," David said, his eyes filled with emotion. Robert was overwhelmed with emotion. This was the greatest forgiveness he could ever receive. Finally, after all these years, he had redeemed himself. Robert Miller's story is a testament to the law of karma. What goes around comes around, but if one repents and does good, they can still find a path to redemption.